Hey, this is Sam with the Adoption Law Firm, and I'm going to take a moment to talk about step-parent adoption, or grandparent adoption, or related adoption. In reality, the court treats all of those very similarly. For a step-parent, grandparent, related adoption, the pathway is very much streamlined. Really, a lot of the home study requirements aren't there. All that we really need is the consent of each biological parent. So let's take a hypothetical. Husband and wife get married. The wife has been married previously and was divorced and now has a child. Husband and wife have to be married for 1 year unless there's a special case, but husband and wife need to be married for a year, and then the husband can adopt the child. Now, whose consent does the court need to see? The court needs to see the mother's consent, the biological mother, and the biological father's consent from the previous marriage. So there's two kinds of consent in Alabama: explicit and implied. If the biological father, the previous husband, will give his consent to the adoption, write his name, give his express consent, then the process is pretty easy. However, if the biological father, the former husband, will not give his express consent, then the court has to look to implied consent. Has this biological parent implicitly given his consent to the adoption by basically his bad acts or omissions? Has he abandoned the child? Has there been more than 6 months of failure to maintain a significant parental relationship? Has this father basically left the biological mother without communication? Hasn't sent birthday presents to the child? Hasn't called the child? Basically hasn't paid child support? Hasn't been involved in the child's life for over 6 months? Then the court can find that the biological parent has given his implied consent. So that's a step-parent adoption. The same thing goes for a grandparent adoption. If you're taking care of your grandchild and both the biological mother and the biological father are completely absent, it's often easier to get an adoption than it is to get custody for various reasons. The same applies for other kinds of related adoption. So for step-parent adoption and grandparent adoption, the process is very streamlined, the costs are low. The court wants to make it easy for you to have the full legal rights to care for this child and raise this child up to be the best child he can be.